Christmas Carol by Charles Dickens, the holiday classic, and a book which I believe I have probably read more times than any other because I read this book every year at Christmas time. Now, I think this is actually like the second or maybe even the third time that I have done a video on this book. But, it's the Christmas season. I feel like it's kind of imperative that you read something apropos of the holiday. And like I said, since I read this book every year, we doing it again. But anyway, need I even summarize this book? I mean, this book may very well be the most adapted book ever written, certainly among the most adapted ever written. It has become deeply entrenched in the public consciousness. But in case you live under a boulder out there, for the sake of thoroughness, I will summarize the plot of A Christmas Carol. So, A Christmas Carol tells the story of Ebeneezer Scrooge, a stingy old prick who hates Christmas time and treats people like crap. But one night he is visited by the ghost of his former business partner, who informs him that he has a ghastly fate awaiting him after death unless he changes his ways, and that to facilitate this change in character within him, he will be visited by three Christmas spirits, which will hopefully show to him the true meaning of Christmas and help him become a better man. So, first, he is visited by the ghost of Christmas Past, which is a candle like entity which takes him on a tour of the Christmases which comprise his past and illustrates to him how his better nature was eventually corrupted by unchecked avarice. Next, he is visited by the ghost of Christmas Present, a jolly giant which shows him what he is missing out on now with Christmas because of his hard heartedness, and also shows to him the plight of Scrooge's employee and his family due to Scrooge's kind of ill treatment of him, and also shows to Scrooge what the Christmas spirit does to people and how it makes people better by instilling a more virtuous ethic in them. And then finally, he is visited by the ghost of Christmas Yet to Come, a deathly cloaked specter which gives him a glimpse of his future and shows him the grim fate which awaits him if he does not change his ways. And then, after these visitations, Scrooge is a changed man and declares that he will honor the Christmas ethos and do better than he had been doing, and ultimately becomes a better man. So that is the story of A Christmas Carol, as though I probably needed to even summarize that. So let's talk about the technical qualities of this book, because A Christmas Carol is one of the rarest of books out there. It is truly, I believe, a perfect book, a book which I at least would not change one single word of, and that is exceedingly rare. Finding a perfect book, that's like the unicorn, right? A book that is truly flawlessly executed across the board. But I believe that A Christmas Carol is such a case. So the writing of A Christmas Carol, it's fantastic. It's narrated in what I could only describe as first person omniscience. It's narrated, although it's never explicitly stated, it's kind of implicit that it's Charles Dickens himself relating to the reader of this story of Ebenezer Scrooge. And because of this kind of slight first person quality to the narration, it lends it a much more intimate tone than it might have otherwise had. And the tone of the book is one of its most endearing qualities because it is warm, but also tinged with humor, but that humor does not ever conflict with or overshadow the story's more somber moments. It is tonally perfect. It really is. The writing is good. Charles Dickens was a great writer. It's poetic. There's some really good tricks he does in here with the prose. It's perfect. Nothing to complain about with the writing. Now on to the characters, because Charles Dickens has been criticized for having flat characters. The characters in Charles Dickens's books are usually kind of larger than life. They have very striking personalities, but they're often lacking in depth, kind of, and they're not oftentimes perhaps the most rounded. But that is not the case with A Christmas Carol, because A Christmas Carol is at heart something of a Bildungsroman. It traces the arc of Ebeneezer Scrooge from cynical miser to warm-hearted philanthropist, and so as a result of that, Ebeneezer Scrooge has a character arc. He is, I think, a fully rounded character, although the secondary characters are kind of just not really rendered in all that much depth. But where it counts, with Scrooge himself, the principal character, it gets the job done and then some. Nothing to complain about with the characters. Scrooge, I think, is fully rendered, fully rounded, and his character arc is quite compelling, I think. Now, on to the actual plot of the book. Again, it's perfect. A Christmas Carol is not a long book, if you didn't know. It's not even a novel, it's a novella, clocking in at only around 100 pages, something that you can read in a sitting or two. But it is perfectly paced, because even though it covers a lot of material in a relatively slim page count, it never feels rushed. It never feels hectic or frantic. It feels just perfectly plotted. Like when we see Scrooge's past and then his present and then his future, everything just feels perfectly done. Nothing is lingered on too long, but nothing is passed over too quickly. It's all just perfectly done. It is truly, I think, a flawless, perfect book. Again, it's kind of a unicorn. It is the rarest of the rare when it comes to literary endeavors, because it has, at least for me, nothing to complain about. So to rate um, A Christmas Carol, as a result of that, the only rating that I can give this is, of course, an A plus, the highest rating that I can bestow, because again, it's perfect. It is absolutely perfect. And it is justifiably one of the most beloved books ever written, because this book is, I believe at the time of its publication, it was William Makepeace Thackeray who said that it was, I'll have to paraphrase, but it was something akin to a personal kindness to every person that reads it. And I wholeheartedly endorse that sentiment. I think this book is um, truly magical. It is deeply humane, and reminds us what really matters, because, through the story of Ebenezer Scrooge, we perhaps can see the way that some of our lives perhaps get off track and we lose sight of what really matters, because Scrooge sacrifices it all for the almighty dollar, and it costs him, because he ends up a bitter, lonely old man who has no friends basically at all, who has basically no one. Um, in his life, but he is given the chance to rectify that and turn his character around. And it is deeply rewarding to see him do so at the end. And like I said, it kind of reminds us what's really important in life. And I think it truly is, in the words of Thackeray, a personal kindness to um, everyone who reads it. So, A Christmas Carol, A plus. Have you read A Christmas Carol? If you have, let me know down in the comments what you think of it, whether you have agreed or disagreed with anything that I've said about it. And also let me know what's your favorite adaptation of the book, because there are a number of them. It seems to be adapted and readapted constantly. So yeah, let me know which ones you like the most. Um, and if you haven't read A Christmas Carol, get your ass out there and read this book. I mean, it will take you virtually no time at all. It is such a marvelous little book. I think everybody should read this. It's truly just again a personal kindness. So yeah, a hard recommend from me. Read A Christmas Carol if you haven't. And as always, if you have enjoyed anything you've seen or heard here today, remember to hit that like button and subscribe. I would really appreciate it. And in the words of Tiny Tim, God bless us, everyone. And of course, Merry Christmas.